The Trojan Blade hits us up with his radical opinion. He said, more rivalry games should be played early in the season when both fan bases are still full of hope and optimism, making those games even more intense. I think this is a good idea, actually. Most notable rivalry games in the last week of the season right now. Michigan, Ohio State, Bama, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Clemson, South Carolina, Kentucky, Louisville. And I ask, other than the fact that they've always been played in late November, what gets hurt moving those up? Because I would argue, aside from just the way traditionally it's always been ingrained in your head, we got Thanksgiving and rivalry week on top of each other. Aside from that, which candidly I've never been a huge fan of because it's a distraction the week of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a distraction the week of rivalries. I would argue if that's the best you got, I got several counter arguments. So that the way that question was worded is very smart because there are years where some teams have long since been eliminated from any kind of preseason goal, and we got like 3 or 4 touchdown spreads on their rivalry game, and it's, aside from those two fan bases, it's not really must-watch TV for anyone, and one side of the rivalry may tune out and just go sit out in the backyard at halftime. But if you played it in September, like if September for college football became known as rivalry month, aside from kickoff month, it's also rivalry month, you got no choice because there are very few games that have been played. Every fan base would still be full of hope. And secondly, you don't need the rivalry games in November. November sells itself for totally different reasons. You've got conference races and playoff races. You got the Heisman race. Like, all that stuff's already a draw. I think this would be a good move because of what I just talked about. Everyone's alive. Everyone's full of hope. Everyone thinks their team can be good, even if in reality half of you aren't going to be good. And secondly, it immediately out of the gate gives us tons of games to look forward to. Some years we have that anyway. But I mean the general public, not us, not just the diehards, the general public. But thirdly, and I would argue maybe most importantly, it eliminates this opportunity or possibility we have right now of like Ohio State, Michigan being played one week and then again the next week in the Big Ten championship game. That's crazy. Bama, Auburn. I mean, there's a world where they play one week and then play again in Atlanta the next week if those games aren't moved on the schedule. And so I think that, it's not a perfect suggestion, but I actually think if you pro'd and conned it, there'd be more pros than cons to moving those rivalry games earlier in the year. So that's a radical opinion. We probably would not get agreement on it, Trojan Blade, but I'm actually with you on that.